Good evening, and welcome to the Yucaipa Planning Commission meeting, December 17th, 2025. If I could please have the roll call.
Commissioner Hicks?
Here.
Commissioner McHouston?
Here.
Commissioner Mill?
Here.
Commissioner Mullins? Commissioner O'Brien?
Here.
Vice Chair Miller?
Here.
And absent from tonight's meeting are Commissioner Mullins and Chair Phillips. Thank you.
Okay, if I could please have everybody stand, and Commissioner Hicks will lead us in the pledge to our flag.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Are there any comments that are not on tonight's agenda that would like to address the commission?
No public comments.
No public comments, okay. First item on here, we have the consent agenda to approve the Planning Commission minutes of November 5th of 25.
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes.
Okay, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstained? Okay. Okay, second item on the agenda of new business.
All right, Kenny Taylor will do the staff presentation.
Good afternoon, members of the Planning Commission. Kenny Taylor, planning consultant for this project. PLN ADM 250027, an architectural review and land use compliance review for a new multifamily residential project within the RM24 zoning district. The project proposes the development of 258 multifamily dwelling units on approximately 8.39 acres, including 31 low-income affordable units provided pursuant to the state density bonus law. So the site is located between 3rd and 2nd Street, just north of County Line. Currently, there are vacant parcels with a few homes that are going to be demoed. That's going to allow the construction of this project. The base density of the residential zone allows 24 dwelling units per the acre. However, since this project qualifies for density bonus housing, there is going to be 258 units per acre, which on average will be about 30 units per the acre. So under the land use compliance review, the project here on the site plan shows 8 three-story buildings, approximately between 30 to 36 units for each structure. Total parking space, 365 spaces provided. And that includes a breakdown of 132 one-bedroom units, 96 two-bedroom units, and 30 three-bedroom units. So because this project is an administrative review under the LUCR, its administrative determination for this permit with the existing zoning standards and previously established by the other approved entitlements doesn't require discretionary review by the Planning Commission. Therefore, the Planning Commission's authority is only limited to the architectural design, site layout, landscaping, amenities, perimeter fencing, The Planning Commission may not reconsider or reduce or deny the project based on the land use, number of dwelling units, or the density, as these components are not within the scope of the architectural review and have been established previously under approved entitlements. So the density bonus is based on the 202 unit count, with the provision that the applicant's proposing 15% low-income affordable units, totaling to 31 affordable units, which qualifies for the 27.5% density bonus, allowing an additional 56 units as a result, totaling to 258 units. Under California Government Code Section 65915, State Density Bonus Law, a local jurisdiction shall grant a density bonus associated incentives and concessions to the housing development that meets the statutory affordability thresholds, which this project does comply with. With that objective, a local jurisdiction cannot deny a project meeting these thresholds, and therefore the approval of the density bonus is mandatory under state law. The slide here shows the site plan and landscaping, which meets the requirements under the RM24 zoning district. Specifically, the project will not exceed the maximum allowable of 60. Circulation and parking. The project provides an internal circulation system to ensure safe and sufficient mobility for vehicles, pedestrians, and emergency responders. And that includes multiple points of ingress and egress between 2nd and 3rd Street. Parking is provided with a combination of 365 units that is broken down to 273 standard parking spaces and 92 compact parking spaces, which all meets the requirements under Yucaipa's Development Code 88.01305. So prior to construction, there will be a grading plan submitted for staff to review. There was a preliminary grading plan as part of the packet, which included a WQMP. Pad elevations are proposed between 495 to 523 between buildings 1 and 2 and 7 and 8. All grading is designed to maintain positive drainage moving forward with an on-site infiltration field landscaping basin that is conducted that includes a 2-to-1 slope located for the bottom elevation with the pad level of 486. The grading design ensures that the floor elevations are above the minimum grade and is consistent with the drainage, flood protection, and building code standards. The project amenities includes a clubhouse, recreational area, swimming pool, decks, as well as a children's playground, dog park, multiple gazebos for sitting area, barbecue grill, as well as landscape open space between buildings. The architectural design theme for this project is going to be contemporary Mediterranean, classified with the sand finished stucco wall surface, split limestone, veneer accents, decorative foam, trim detailings, wrought iron balcony railings, clay tile roof accents, and articulate tower elements, as you see here below in the elevation. The exterior wall finishes will be constructed in a La Habra Santa Fe light finish as a primary stucco body color, contemporary gray. The maximum height for this project will be 41 feet and 2 inches, which is consistent to the height standard of 45 feet within the RM24 zone. Collectively, this is a architectural design that is consistent with the City of Yucaipa's multifamily design guidelines. So the photo above is the proposed. This is a photo looking west from 2nd Street. The photo below is the existing site. And this includes the landscaping, the perimeter fencing, as well as the architectural design for the apartment unit. So staff's recommendation for the Planning Commission is to review the architectural design and site layout, and if acceptable, the conditions of approval, and adopt category exemption pursuant to California Environmental Quality Act as amended section 15310 ministerial project. And that concludes my presentation. Staff is here to answer any questions as well as the applicant.
All right, thank you. First of all, I want to, I remiss on letting everybody know the public hearing has been opened, and I need to ask any commissioners, do they have any ex parte communications they need to disclose here?
I don't think this is under public hearings, is it?
No, because the architecture review is not a public hearing, doesn't require the noticing, but I think the conflicts of interest is probably well advised to disclose it though.
Okay. Just want to make sure we're covered here so we're not stepping on any boundaries. With that being said, do we have any questions for staff before the applicant comes up? I have a question then. Originally, this project was approved at 172 units. And was that 2-story structures or 3-story structures?
The 172 was at 2-story structures.
Was that the 2-story structures? Okay. And so how this came about to the additional units is that because that project was approved, we had to do a general plan amendment to the RM24, which allows them to build additional units or maximize the RM24 plus the low-income housing credits, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so that's how come we're looking from 172 to the 258 units here. So in the public hearing before that there was there any disclosure to any of the people that attended the meeting and letting them know that with the change of the general plan amendment, that project could have been changed and additional units could have been built?
So kind of as with any general plan amendment, the approval is on the zone and what it entails. And so it is noted that the density ranges between here, and so that was part of it. Certainly because they had a concurrent project, those residents probably anticipated the 172 actually moving forward, but due to other circumstances that perhaps the applicant can identify, that was not the case.
Okay. So I guess I'm just looking at this as a little bit of an education for us. We weren't here, I don't know if any of us, maybe Tony was here, is that when we look at projects and we approve them and there's a general plan amendment, even though the project that is in front of us may not be constructed and may get altered because of the general plan amendment, okay? So that we're aware of that in the future. I have had some concerns about that, where how the public perceives this, as it appears to be that this got pulled in through the back door. So it's something here, the reason why I'm bringing this up is to educate ourselves. What could happen when we are approving projects and when there is a general plan amendment and their project isn't maximizing what that general plan amendment would allow, that something else could be brought forward in the future, and in turn not have a public hearing on that project then, based on that density. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear and that we all learn from this. So, any questions?
Yeah, I was, thanks for that education. So this 258 unit multifamily apartment complex, how does that relate to the big picture in Yucaipa of other apartment complexes? Would this be considered a relatively large project?
In terms of the unit count, yeah, this will be one of the larger kind of apartment projects. City of Yucaipa itself doesn't really have too many apartment projects. Probably the most kind of modern one that we have is the bungalows at Chapman Heights, and those were constructed now over 2 decades ago, and so definitely haven't had a whole lot. In terms of other apartment projects, it's not necessarily on that higher end. I personally lived in larger apartment projects in Redlands before, but definitely for Yucaipa, it'll be a more sizable one.
Okay.
What you're saying, this would be the highest density unit project we would have in the community.
It wouldn't be the highest density unit, but because of how large the property is, it will be probably the most number of units of any project. We do have a few other RM24 projects that, based on their affordability, are actually higher units per acre, but
So we have some other projects in town that are more than 30 units per acre right now?
yes, including the Eagle housing project at 5th and County Line Road.
Okay, and those are senior housing projects?
Yep.
Okay, which are typically all one-bedroom units.
Many of them are 2-bedroom units on that particular project, since I think a lot of senior housing developers like to do 2 bedrooms because as you get older, people tend to snore, so that tends to be something where they want 2 bedrooms so that each person has their own space to sleep in solitude.
Okay. Other questions? Okay, hearing none, would the applicant like to address the planning commission tonight?
Thank you, Honorable Chairman. Thank you, Planning Commission and staff. Kenny, appreciate the thorough presentation. My name is Travis Heath with West Coast and Town. We're here on behalf of the applicant. We were actually here when the project was first approved back in 2023. So at that point, it was 10% affordable at 172 units. They had the intention of building it out. They even went so far as processing improvement plans, grading plans, water quality management, those stuff to kind of get it to that point. But then it kind of hit a wall from a funding side of things, and so then it no longer became feasible to construct. So then they sold it to a different group who's now coming in with the intent of building it, and so that's why we're here today with this new proposal, because unfortunately the 172 units was not feasible, so that's why we're discussing the 258 today. I mean, that's it. I mean, I don't really have too much of a presentation. I feel like Kenny did a pretty good job as far as, you know, highlighting the various aspects of it, but I am here for questions.
Any questions of the applicant?
I had a question on that stucco wall.
Okay.
I would assume, is that pretty much a wraparound on all 4 sides, or just the, I guess you would call it the north and south sides? And how tall is this stucco wall?
Too far. You're talking about the privacy, like the ground floor.
I think he's talking about the privacy wall on the property line.
Okay, yes. So that'll be. Pull this up. So it kind of depends on where the individual unit is located. If it is at the corner, then it could wrap around. That is like the privacy area to kind of give them their enclosed 150 square feet of balcony patio space. It will match the colors of the building.
I guess probably the question was, is there going to be a northern property line wall from
Yes.
2nd Street to 3rd Street? And is it going to be stucco, and how high that wall is going to be? I believe that,
It'll be a 6-foot-high block wall. Thank you.
okay.
And on the south side?
And
It's the same.
Okay. And then on the northern, or excuse me, on the southern and eastern property line is going to be wrought iron and landscaping?
Correct.
Okay. Typically, and we haven't had one this year that I'm aware of, that we have like color palettes or whatever. We don't require that anymore for this?
We do not have a color and materials board for this item.
Okay. Is that typical now, or is that just something different for this project?
Normally, that would be something that is included with the architecture package.
Okay. Other questions? Okay. Gated on both ends of the property,
Yes, sir.
okay. Based on your bedroom count, okay, and I missed on going through and added that up. What's the total bedroom count in relationship to parking spaces?
So there are 258 parking spaces, or sorry, 258 units, and there are 365 total spaces. So a little more than,
I've asked for a bedroom count, though,
oh, bedroom count? Okay.
in comparison to parking spaces.
I'll tell you that right now.
So as Travis calculates it, so the parking code requirements is 1 space per unit for the 1 bedroom and then 1.5 spaces for the 2 and 3 bedroom units. And so that's what the 200 and, or the 321 space requirement comes from, and then they provide the 353.
There are 414 bedrooms
414 bedrooms, okay.
and 365 on the parking spaces.
Okay. All right. Other questions of the applicant? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Is there any members of the public that would like to address this item?
No members of the public.
Members of the public, okay. All right, we'll take it back to the commission here. Questions of staff?
We've been talking about this for a while with the California requirements. This is what was gonna happen. You know, we're looking at architecturals, and that's it. So I don't think any of us are probably happy about it when it gets to this point, but that's the direction we seem to be going. As far as the buildings themselves, was there redesign on the buildings? I know it added a second or a third floor, but
Yeah, overall, the design is comparable, you know, in terms of the site layout, and the building overall layout is very similar. Obviously, some changes for the additional parking. The buildings are a little bit different, more on the detail, and just because of the scales, a little bit different. So the tower element, some of the widths for the projecting elements are a little bit scaled differently in order to make sure that when you're looking at it, because of the taller size of the structure from the 2-story, that the proportions are still appropriate. So there's similar style, but just little nuance detailing for the building design.
yeah, you know, as far as colors, I know La Habra Santa Fe is a light, it has almost a gray tint to it, but it's a very light color. And then I'm guessing the gray accent is a darker gray, but. And then is it clay tile roofs, or since we don't have any palette?
It should be called out on the plans. I believe Kenny had said that they were the clay tiles. It does have a schedule on it. Clay tile, yeah.
Yeah, clay tile roofs, that's correct.
Yep.
And that would be the same for the clubhouse.
Uh-huh.
All right,
Nothing further.
other questions? Okay. So, just gonna ask this here, in the future, are we going to be not looking at a color palette and samples? Or are we gonna require it, just so that we have an idea of, what research we need to do?
Yeah, normally the color material palette should have been included, so, in the future, we'll make sure that that is, provided by the applicant.
Okay, I would appreciate that. Being it's gated in the parking, I know there was some questions, I know before at the meeting when it was approved at 172 units, now we're looking at 258 units. Has there been any provisions or any conditions that staff has given as far as parking beyond the project?
Yeah, so all the parking calculation does require it to be provided off-street, and so the calculation is based off what they provide on the property side as well. In addition, they do have a number of other off-site improvements that they'll be doing along the streets to connect to County Line Road. So there'll be additional provisions, but the parking count that they provide consistent with our development code is all within the interior of their project.
Okay.
Was there some discussion originally too about sidewalk extension?
Yes, and that was conditioned with this particular project to make sure that that condition stayed, given the location of it to, commercial uses nearby, the school connectivity, as well as making sure that those pedestrian improvements are in place so that the residents are able to safely maneuver in and around the project site.
Yeah, and on that note, I was just going to add that specifically, the item, condition of approval 54 has about 108 feet of extension of the sidewalk improvements to connect with the County Line Road roundabouts to at 3rd Street there, so on the east side of 3rd Street.
Thank you.
Other questions? No? Okay, does the applicant have any more they would like to add? No? Okay. We'll return this back to the commission. I'm open for a motion.
Yeah, I'll make the motion to approve PLN ADM 250027 as written.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Any abstained? Motion carries. Okay, next item on the agenda. We'll be opening the public hearing. And Ben, are you handling this one?
Katie will be doing the presentation for this item.
Katie, all right.
And before I do that, is there any ex parte communication on this one? No. Okay.
Thank you, Honorable Chair and Planning Commissioners. I bring before you today item number 3, case numbers PLN, PHE 250013, and PLN ADU 25004. This is a land use compliance review and special use permit for the architectural review of a 1,200 square foot accessory dwelling unit and combined 250 square foot patio additions to an attached 664 square foot garage at 13174 6th Place. So the proposed structure is planned to be constructed on a 0.68 acre parcel located southwest of Wildwood Canyon Road in 6th Place in single residential zoning. There is a mobile home community to the east and residences surrounding the site. The property is currently improved with a one-story residence that provides 1,800 square feet of living space and 661 square feet of non-habitable space and architectural features on site. There is also a separate 952 square foot detached structure located at the rear of the site. The proposed 2,114 square foot accessory structure is proposed to provide personal storage for the future residents of the ADU. This structure adheres to all minimum setback requirements and access is provided through 6th Place. The accessory structure will feature a gable roof with the structure's peak height measuring at 16 feet. The exterior elevations include cool antique slate asphalt shingle roofing, lunar surface painted stucco siding, and fir wood painted trim and fascia. The proposed structure also includes a rear patio with a covered porch and garage entrance along the street-facing side. And here are some site photos of the existing residence. The ADU will be designed to match. As a part of the project notices were sent to the surrounding property owners and no comments were received. Therefore, it is staff's recommendation that you review the architectural design of the structure, adopt the special use permit findings, direct staff to adopt a categorical exemption pursuant to CEQA, and direct staff to file a notice of exemption.
That's your presentation? Okay, thank you. Is the applicant here? I don't see anybody here, so I'm assuming the applicant is not here tonight?
The applicant is not here.
Okay. Is there any public comment in this? I don't see any public comment here either tonight.
No public comment.
Okay. With that, questions to staff?
Is the ADU to the right or north of the existing home?
It would be north of the existing home. So I think we can kind of see it right here. This is the existing home with some added patio square footage. And then this is their rear patio, front patio. And then this is the front facing garage.
I think when you had the front photo on there, I think it was where the wooden fence was. It was going to be removed.
That's what I was wondering.
Okay.
There we go. So right now, yes, there would be a portion of this fence that would be removed per the applicant to allow for that street-facing access.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you say the elevation was same as the house?
Yes, you can't quite see here, but it should be in the staff report. Oh, pardon me. Here's kind of the light gray colors. So it's not an exact match, but it's made to complement the primary residence.
The height,
Oh, the height.
elevation.
The peak height is, yes, it shouldn't exceed,
It says 16 feet.
it's
here,
peak
doesn't
height
it?
of 16 feet, yes. So it shouldn't exceed the primary residence.
Okay. Other questions?
Yeah, I just have one question. What part of the project is going to be used for ministerial purposes?
Can you repeat that for me?
Yeah, what part of the project is going to be used for ministerial purposes?
Oh, that's
Is
a
it the
great question.
garage or the house
Oh.
itself?
So the ministerial portion of the application is accessory dwelling unit, not for ministry purposes. It just means that it's a by right administrative level. So under state law, they define our actions as either discretionary, which goes to planning commission, or ministerial. And so
Yeah, the item that actually triggered the special use permit was this attached garage. Otherwise, it would have just been a land use compliance review.
Okay. And something that I'll just share with the commission, I learned something new here the other day, that the setbacks are different for ADUs. I believe, Ben, you told me 5 foot on the side yard and 5 foot on the rear yard?
it's
Or excuse me,
4
4
feet.
foot,
Yeah,
4
4
foot
feet
on both. So, which is typically on a home would be 5 on one side, 10 on the other, and 20 on the rear yard.
Yeah, and normally, we do allow projections for, accessory structures in the rear yard to go beyond that 20. But as an example, our custom home overlay district for our RL1 has 20-foot side yard setbacks. With ADU, they could still build 4 feet regardless of the side yard setback for the 20 feet. So definitely, luckily, a lot of those properties are larger, so that there's, some site flexibility to make something work for those applicants. But yeah, can be quite jarring from what our code allows.
Okay. Other questions for staff? Okay, then I'll close the public hearing and bring it back. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we follow and accept the staff report on the recommendation for Plan PHE 250013, and looks like there's an ADU 25004.
Do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Any abstain? Motion carries. All right, announcements from staff. And I do have a couple of things I want to go over after that, so. go
Yeah,
ahead.
sounds good. No, I got 3 kind of announcements. One, the annual League of Cities Planning Academy, Planning Commissioners Academy is now open. It's from March 11th to the 13th in Anaheim. So if anyone is interested in going, it's a good way to commingle with other planning commissioners from other cities, kind of learn some, best practices and kind of learn what's going on statewide and, commiserate with everyone. And so if anyone is interested, please let me know, and then I will be happy to make sure that you guys are able to go, and I'll join you guys, and we get to talk about what it's like to be a planning commissioner. So if you're interested, again, the dates are March 11th through the 13th in Anaheim, and so it's at the Sheridan Hotel there. So that's the first one. Second one, I did want to follow up on the architecture review. I did confirm our checklist does not require color and material board. I think when we developed these, we omitted that or didn't include it. So because of that, we'll make sure that that's a little bit more clear, so then that way we can collect those for future architecture review. And then lastly, just want to thank everyone for a good year. It's been an interesting year overall, and but thank you guys for your volunteering to serve on the Planning Commission, and look forward to another year with everyone come 2026.
All right, thank you very much. Any comments, questions, statements that the commission would like to make? Like I said, I do have a couple, I will, but
When's our next meeting?
It will probably be either the second meeting in January or early February. So we do have a few items that are kind of wrapping up, where they have received their draft conditions of approval, and once we get the green light, then we'll schedule it for Planning Commission. So.
I'd just like to say thank you all, and Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll see you next year.
Yeah, real quick, I want to thank you, and as well as my peers up on the dais, just to thank you for getting us all squared away this year for our first year in the Planning Commission. I know I certainly appreciate it. Wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and Happy Holidays as well.
thank you very much. I'm going to bring up a couple items here about our first item we heard tonight here with the apartment project, because there appears, and I could see some concern and could be some backlash coming back at the city in general. This project was originally approved for 172 units, which triggered a general plan amendment, which then allowed them to expand on their project, okay? That wasn't presented at that meeting, okay? And it appears, and I've had a conversation with Ben about this already, that it appears that it almost looks like it could have been backdoored here, okay, without public input, because they went from 172 units with a public hearing to 258 units without a public hearing, okay? I know that now with our general plan, it's staff's approval point, as long as they meet the criteria based on the zoning. But this was a project that was presented, it was, and poor word to use here, presumed by the public that that's what was gonna be constructed and then changed because the general plan amendment got changed. So one question I have for you is, right now we have the RM zoning, okay, which allows 1 unit or 8 units per acre in the RM zoning, correct? And then we have the 24 units.
Yeah, roughly, so 8.7 for one, and then 24 units per acre, so.
Well, now it's hard to get that 0.7 on a unit, so you got 8 units an acre or so. Okay, we don't have anything in between. We don't have an RM10 or an RM12 or an RM18 or an RM20. It's conceivably, somebody could have a project on an acre of land and say, hey, I'm gonna build, 8 single-story units here, hey, it's approved, and then, wrong example. They say, hey, I got an acre here and I wanna build 16 units on there. Okay, so they would submit ask for approval of that. We would be then most likely offering them the zone change to 24 units per acre, because we don't have anything in between, okay? And then in turn, they could sit there and flip that after the fact, say, well, now we have 24 units an acre here, let's change our project, without going to a public hearing. That being said, I think, and I would like us, and with the permission of my fellow commissioners here, that I think we should have a workshop on this and possibly think about this and give some direction to the council and give some direction as far as zoning on approval, because I could see, after what took place here tonight, I could see that happening again. And I think we could have some very, very upset residents in our community.
Yeah.
And I know there's zoning laws, but I would at least like to see that discussed, because I can see a problem in the making.
No, and I think those are very valid points on kind of a number of fronts. Anytime that you have a general plan amendment and then a concurrent project, it's easy to equate the two of this is what's going to happen, but you never know what can happen afterwards. Two, especially with changes in state law, some of what the expectations are for density is also very different. So you have a subdivision, these large lots created, and then SB 9 allows you to split those into 2 after the fact as well and add additional units. There's also now, it's the Starter Home Revitalization Act, and I've actually had a few different discussions on that today or this week. And the government code section is 499.41. And this essentially allows a 10-unit project on smaller lots, and it has to be at least 66% of the city's density calculation under state law, which is 30 units per acre. So it's a 20-unit per acre project that's allowed by right. So a half-acre project in the city could submit 10 units and it'd be by right. And so even if it's a RS 20 property, it could trigger 10 units. And so there's a lot of the name of the game and what the expectations of the zoning says this and what someone can build is very different now.
But that's looking at a proposal, right? That's not in law yet.
No, the 10 units per acre, or the 10 units on by right on a half acre is state law now.
Okay. So once again, I think we should have a workshop, if anything, educational, but in turn, some input, that maybe we should be looking at some additional zoning levels, because I could, like I said, I could see this coming forward. Originally, this project was proposed as a 2-story project, and I know people are very adamant about that. Now, you know, they had the presumption that that's what it was. Now, that's a 3-story project that was brought into the back door. And I see that as a real concern, and I think that should be at least addressed. And I would like to hopefully have the support of the commission here to at least just have a workshop, at least express that concern with the city council, because not only is that going to come upon us, but it's also going to come upon them as well.
Question for you. And I totally respect you and your experience and you bringing this to our attention, because this is totally new for me. So that's great. And a workshop, I have no problem with a workshop. What I'm wondering is, if we think about like a chain of command, so to speak, as I understand it, we kind of work underneath the council. And we also got state laws all over the place, as Tony's mentioning. So we're kind of limited, I think, in scope of what we can do and what we can't do. For example, this project, you know, we're basically looking at architectural stuff and number of units here and all the stuff that we talked about. But as far as what you're concerned about and alluding to, that to me seems like that's out of our lane, so to speak. Let me finish. That it would be more city council's authority or responsibility to figure out, like when we say there's a general plan change, zoning change or whatever. We didn't make that decision. It's probably the council who makes that decision.
I believe we
Who makes
made
that?
the recommendation, though.
Who makes the?
Plan Commission reviews it first, but it is ultimately city council's the one that sets
An
the
amendment
policy on
to a zoning change. Okay, so your concern is valid. City council makes that decision. Maybe we don't like that decision for whatever reason. We're hearing complaints or something. We're a citizen in the city and we're on a planning commission. So it would seem to me that if we've got a concern, nothing wrong with mentioning it here. I'm not questioning that at all. I'm saying maybe we go to the mayor and we simply say, Mr. Mayor, are you aware of this concern that we're hearing? And then if he says no or yes or whatever, if we're not satisfied, then maybe we do something as a citizen in the public and we address it at a city council meeting and bring it to the attention of everybody that this is something that could happen. I hope we didn't get to that. I think a workshop's a great idea, but it seems like it's not really in our lane. This is not really what we're here to do. Am I right or am I wrong on that?
I think it's a combination of both. You know, ultimately, you know, the zoning map or the general plan map allows a variety of different stuff that can be done there. And so anytime that we have a piece of property that allows those different stuff, you could have any combination thereof. I mean, even in terms of the discussion with like the freeway corridor specific plan, the old 2008 plan allowed, you know, certain uses in both different types of commercial districts. Whether or not that may be what the outcome that people would want or not want is different, but ultimately when it comes to the final decision, when an actual project comes through and is ready to move forward, you have to look at it from the lens of, okay, the code says I'm allowed to do this. And so it does make it important when there is a general plan amendment kind of request coming through to think critically about, okay, this is what they're saying that they want to do right now, but it may be something different. You know, residential projects, you know, usually are going to be some form of other residential use no matter what, but even the commercial stuff, you know, if you change a zoning district to a more industrial use or something like that, is then you're opening those stuff, and the proposal that may be with it is always helpful to give context of what they want to do, but the repercussions could be that, you know, they have it, they do everything, and then something happens to their ability to fulfill that project, and someone else comes through, and they go, well, the list says I can do all these other things, and so I want to do that. And yeah, it does make it tough. It takes a recognition that it may be this project, but it may be anything else that's under that list. And so we try to do the analysis for that, but certainly, you know, planning land use decisions aren't necessarily the easiest things to grapple with for a member of the public that's just seen, hey, I have a project and it says 172. That's the thing that they hold on to, and it's hard to probably convey some of that nuance of that decision as effectively as you know, as possible.
I believe Commissioner Hicks.
I just want to say what I've learned from this. I was here when it came through the first time. And I think what I could have done that now I'm aware of is there could have been a condition asked for and placed on it that it would not exceed 2 stories. And of course, at the time, that wasn't even a consideration or anything that we were talking about. But there were other considerations made to get it approved with the neighbors that included no windows on the ends of the units. And these units were totally redesigned on the inside. So I believe from what I saw, there's windows facing the neighbors now. And we don't have any purview over that now that it's coming back. And that upsets me because I pushed for that, and that was some of the concessions that were made then, but we didn't make them part of the conditions of approval. And I think going forward, when we do have something that there's some opposition to and there's concessions made, and that's something that I'm really concerned about. And Ben knows I've followed up a number of times on conditions or on agreements that were made in here that led to approval where, whether it was commercial or residential, where they sat here and agreed to do certain things. And I don't like personally the way I feel like I didn't do my job because, you know, unknowingly, but didn't do my job to protect the neighbors and take care of what they had asked for and what was agreed to. And so I'm going to learn from that we need to make sure that we ask for that condition to be added. And if it's something like this where could be a possible increase when it's a project that has this much opposition to it in the first place, you know, I think Dennis is right. We just need to be more aware of what we're approving when we have, you know, a general plan amendment and ask for, you know, and that only comes with experience. I've been doing this. I know Dennis has done this before for quite a few years, but.
Yeah. And if I may kind of add, you know, to the extent that we can, there's been a few projects that went to higher density, so they went to kind of the 8.7 units per acre. There was one on next to Dunlap Elementary School. There's another one that will be coming forward shortly as well off Oakland Road. And part of what they did was a specific plan to say that we're doing a detached, you know, residential, single-family ownership project. Because otherwise, if it was just the standard RM land use district, they could come back and do apartments. And it's like, okay, if you're looking to map this out specifically, then it limits it because the specific plan becomes the zoning code. Then it says this is what is only allowed and nothing else. And so,
Well, that was one of the sales points on this thing the first time around was it was 2-story. It wouldn't be intrusive to the residents, and there was a lot of concern about it, you know. And now we're at 3 stories and we have windows on the ends, and it doesn't make me happy. And you know, and I've known Travis since Little League, you know, and I can't fault them for doing their job for their customer. They're doing the best that they can to get the most for their customer. So it's not anything on them, but it's definitely what we're up against with the state, and it just makes me more aware of how important it is we need to spend more time looking at these projects when they come through and educate ourselves more on them and try to think outside the box with exactly what Dennis is saying, that once you get this master or general plan amendment, you know, what the possibilities are. And I will say, I've been in the past totally unknowingly, but I had a piece of property in Vegas that we did the same. We just increased the density on it, and we had a project that we wanted to do on that, and staff would not recommend approval, and we got it through Clark County anyway. And then the economy turned down, and the project ended up getting sold, and somebody came in with higher density, the same thing that staff was cautioning about. So it's not always intentional, but those things do happen, and I think that's where we need to pay more attention and you know, if it warrants it for us to look at it. So.
I do want to know, because I'm pulling up the old plans, I think we're probably stepping a little bit out of, since it wasn't noticed. So the project itself, the old one did have windows along the side, so it did, and then the setbacks were less than.
It did have the windows, but in particular, the one resident that's right there on the northeast corner, that was his concern, and in that meeting, they agreed to remove the windows from those units that would overset or overlook his backyard.
Okay, so. I don't know if that came through.
And again, I'll put that on me that I didn't follow through and make sure that that was a condition, so.
But, yeah.
So, other comments or?
Sorry.
No, and that's the reason why I'm bringing this up. Not to beat on any project and all that, but we need to understand the ramification. When we do approve something, it isn't necessarily that is going to be the project here. And I think in the future, at bare minimum, when something is not maximizing the zoning or what the general plan allows it, or the amended general plan, that statement needs to be made, that if this project should go away, it could be brought forward to be maximized, and that it wouldn't come to a public hearing, because that's really what has taken place here. And that way the public's on notice here. I think the answer a bit of your question is that the Planning Commission hears these projects, we make recommendations, or what we approve. Subject, and when there's a general plan amendment, then that's subject to the city council approving that general plan amendment. So technically, we first give that blessing for them to confirm that, okay? So it takes us to initiate it, okay? Now, if we denied a project, and please interrupt me, Ben, if I'm wrong, if we deny a project and say, no, we deny this project, we deny because we don't like that general plan amendment or this project for whatever, they have the right to appeal, and the city council could override us.
Yeah, by and large, technically anything that requires a general plan amendment shows up to council no matter what, but yeah. If you,
But if we did deny, it could go to them and get approved.
they could overturn the planning commission recommendation.
But typically, they are looking for us to give those recommendations, including that general plan amendment. So we are on the hook just as well as the city council is on these things. So, and it's something we need to be aware of, because it's, I can tell you in the past, when you're walking in the grocery store or pumping gas at a gas station, you can have conversation with some people that could be sometimes a little uncomfortable. And I think the more we become educated on how we do this, and I think through a workshop or maybe looking at some other changes, I have some ideas. I know there's other people that have ideas that perhaps, and whether or not they conform with state law or not is another thing, but I feel that through a workshop or at least some formal gathering that we can put ideas on the table and see what is workable for our community, because that's who we're representing as our community here.
I think there will be a good opportunity because we'll be working on the update to the development code this coming year. And so I think some of the opportunity is to kind of manage or mitigate potential challenges that, with state law preempting a lot of decisions, we can at least try to get, some of the must-haves on the books, and then that way it's more enforceable. So even, in regards to, visibility for a resident overlooking another house, having much more strong language, we can make sure that that's included on it. So even if state law changes and creates new land use densities that we never even envisioned at the city, we can at least still stay on top of making sure that the community values are upheld. And so that's certainly one of the big goals for the upcoming year, is to look at that, because state law, what we think can be done on a piece of property and what is now allowed, on certain types of properties is very different. Even if we didn't touch the zoning, what someone can build today versus what they could do 10 years ago is very different. And so even in light of that, we want to make sure that we have enough provisions to manage what should be done in a quality way.
Other questions of staff, statements, or anything? All right. I too want to thank staff for your work this year, and I want to thank my fellow commissioners and that for participating and working with each other. It's been a pleasure. And I wish you all a very Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you.
And at that, I will adjourn the meeting at 7:32. Thank you.